Hi, welcome back to Tammy's Kitchen. Today I'm going to make one of my favorites, turtle brownie cheesecake. We're also going to make a quick and easy version of cheesecake whenever you don't have time to spend all day in the kitchen. I will tell you that the version that takes a long time is well worth it, and you'll really enjoy it, and your friends and family will ooh and ah when you bring this to the table. So stick with us and we're going to get started. We're going to get started making our crust, and I'm going to add 31 Oreo cookies to the food processor. I'm going to break them in half because that makes it easier for the processor to break them up. You can do this by hand. It's a little more elbow grease. You can do it with a rolling pin and put your Oreos in a plastic bag. Same effect, it'll just take you a little longer. If you've got a food processor, this just zips the process right along. So again, that's 31 Oreos, and that'll make about 2 cups of Oreo cookie crumbs. If you can buy them already crushed up, that's time saver too. So get all of these in here. Okay. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, I think those need just a little bit longer. Yep, don't have them all crushed up yet. Turn that back on. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to add to that 1/4 of a cup of unsalted butter. And those two things are the only ingredients in our cheesecake crust. You could do this with graham crackers or vanilla wafers, whatever you prefer if you don't like Oreos, but I like the Oreos, so. Okay, our crust is mixed up. I'm going to take the blade out of my food processor, and then we'll just dump these into, this is a 9-inch springform pan, and I have lightly sprayed it with cooking spray. Okay. We've got our Oreo cookie crumbs in our springform pan, and if you'll use a measuring cup to pat those in, this works really great. And you want this to be even along the bottom and about 1 inch or so up the sides of your pan. And if you use a half cup measuring cup, that is just about the right height for your crust along the side, so you can kind of use that as a guide. That way you're kind of even all the way around the sides. Okay, we've got our crumbs patted in our springform pan. As you can see, we've got about 1 inch of rim around there. That'll support our cheesecake once we get that poured in. This is going to go into the oven at 325 degrees for about 10 minutes. So we'll pop this in and we'll get started on our batter. One footnote I would add to what we just did is you might want to place a piece of aluminum foil underneath your pan. That crust does have butter in it, and sometimes it will leak out of that springform pan, so that'll save you a little bit of mess in the oven. So you might want to try that if you're making this recipe. We're going to let that cool on a wire rack while we stir up the filling for our turtle brownie cheesecake. And we need 3 blocks of cream cheese, 8 ounces each. This is regular full-fat cream cheese. 1 cup of sugar. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Your cream cheese should be softened at room temperature before you try to mix this up. Start your mixer out kind of slow so you don't throw all your sugar out. And then once that gets going, we'll turn it up. Okay, we've beat the 3 blocks of cream cheese, cup of sugar, and a tablespoon of vanilla. The next thing we're going to add is 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of sour cream. This needs to be well incorporated before you add anything else to it. This is your opportunity to beat out all of the lumps. So if your cream cheese isn't smooth yet, you need to beat it a while longer. Otherwise, you won't have an opportunity to beat those out. I think we've got the lumps out of this, so I'm going to go ahead and add our cup of sour cream. And 1 cup of heavy cream. And this is whipping cream that you buy out of the dairy case. We've added quite a lot of liquid to that, so when you turn your mixer back on, you want to be sure you turn it on very slowly or you'll have a big mess. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit. We've got the cream kind of beat down in there. And again, we want this to be a very smooth consistency so your cheesecake isn't lumpy. Okay, we've beat in the cup of cream and a cup of sour cream. The next thing we're going to add is 4 eggs. And we want to add them slowly, 1 at a time. Oops, I got 2 at a time, but we'll make that work. Last one goes in. And you just want to beat the eggs until they're combined. We don't want to whip these in there. Okay, our very last ingredient is 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. And I'm just going to slowly add that in there. And you can see my mixer isn't turned up very high. Again, at this point we don't want to really beat the batter. Okay. I'm going to turn the mixer off and wipe down the sides of the bowl with the spatula. Be sure we get everything combined in there, and then I'm going to turn it back on for just a minute or so to be sure that we've got everything combined like it should be. Okay, we have the bulk of our batter mixed up. The last ingredient that we're going to add is 1.5 cups of brownie pieces. So this is kind of the finishing touch on our turtle cheesecake batter mixture. So I'm going to add those in now, and we just want to fold those in gently with a spatula. No mixing really required. Any brownie will do. This was just a box mix that I stirred up. And again, just gently fold those into your batter. You don't want to break down that nice cream cheese and cream that you've already mixed up. So I think that looks pretty good, and it's ready to go into our crust that we prepared. The next thing that we're going to do is wrap our pan in heavy-duty aluminum foil. This is an important step. This cheesecake is baked in a water bath, so you need to firmly secure your aluminum foil around your springform pan so that your crust isn't waterlogged. This is kind of some extra work, but again, if you bake your cheesecake in a water bath, it is much creamier than when you just bake it in regular oven. So I think you'll be glad you went to the extra pains involved in making this one. So we're gonna get our pan all secured here. I'm going to set the springform pan down in a large broiler pan. So I'm going to set that down in there, and then I'm going to pour our cheesecake batter in our crust. Okay, that's going to just almost fill up your pan. So don't be concerned about that. This isn't like regular cake that's going to raise a lot in the baking process. It's going to raise a little bit, but don't worry about it overrunning your pan. It won't. Now I'm going to go ahead and place this pan in the oven before I add the water to it. I recommend you do that because you don't want water sloshing up into your batter. It's also going to make your pan extremely heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and set this in the oven, and then I'm going to fill the pan about halfway up the side of my springform pan with hot tap water. And then this is going to go into a 325-degree oven for an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes. It does take it quite a long time to bake. Start checking it at the hour and 15-minute mark just to see how you're coming along. We are ready to go with cheesecake number 2. These are going to be mini cheesecake, and they're a much faster version of what we've got in the oven right now. Many of the same ingredients, however. Starts off with 2 blocks of cream cheese. And since we're just using 2, I'm just going to get these started with my hand mixer here. I'm going to beat these up a little bit before I add any of our other ingredients. Okay, again, your cream cheese does need to be softened. If you forget to lay it out of the refrigerator, you can pop it in the microwave for just a few seconds to get it softened up before you try to beat it. To our cream cheese, we're going to add a half a cup of sugar and a half a teaspoon of vanilla. You want to be sure that your sugar is thoroughly incorporated in the cream cheese. And again, this is your opportunity to beat any lumps out of the cream cheese because you don't want to whip it after you add your eggs. This ingredient was not in the original recipe, but I have added it because I like my cheesecake to have sour cream in it. So I'm just going to blend that in. It won't take long to blend in the sour cream. Next, we're going to add 2 eggs, again, one at a time. Batter is done, and the crust for our mini cheesecakes is going to be Oreo cookies. And we're just going to drop these into a muffin tin, and I've already put little cupcake liners in there. And if you don't want to use Oreos, you could use any kind of sandwich cookie that you want for the crust, or a ginger snap or whatever will fit into the bottom of your muffin pan. So I'm just going to drop an Oreo into the bottom of each one of these. And I'm going to use an ice cream scoop to scoop our batter into the pan. This works really good. It's about the right amount, and it doesn't make as much of a mess as a spoon does. So you may have to go back and add a little bit more to each one, but again, this is a lot easier than anything else I found. So I use this when I make cupcakes too. It's just a little bit cleaner. I don't end up gomming the batter all over the pan. Our muffin cups are all filled up, and as you can see, these come pretty much right up to the top of the muffin tin, which is fine. Again, these don't raise very much. They're not like regular cake. So we're going to pop these into a 350-degree oven. These don't take a great long time to bake, only about 20 minutes. So once they've been in the oven for 15 minutes or so, you might check them. You only want to bake them till the center is set. You don't want to overcook them. So we'll pop them in the oven and check on these in a few minutes. Just out of the oven, they are all puffed up. And don't worry about those cracks on the top. They won't hurt a thing. We're going to cover these with some topping, and nobody will ever know the difference, and they'll still taste great. So these need to cool completely on the counter, and then they need to be refrigerated at least 3 hours or overnight before you put any kind of topping on them. Okay, we're ready to decorate our mini cheesecakes. These are cheesecakes that I made yesterday that have been refrigerated overnight. And you can just gently peel away that cupcake liner, and as you can see, it's going to make the outside of these look kind of pretty. It makes them look crimped. And as you can see, they kind of sunk a little bit in the middle. That won't hurt a thing. That's just a little pocket for you to put some filling in. And I'm going to use some fresh fruit today, but you can put in there whatever you'd like. Chocolate chips, some nuts, cherry filling, strawberry filling, again, whatever you prefer on your cheesecake, or you can just eat them plain. So I fanned out a really large strawberry actually, and as you can tell, that's going to pretty much fill up the whole cheesecake. So I think I'm just going to cut that in half, and we'll just use a portion of that. And I've got some kiwi here, and you can just kind of layer that on there. There. Now it's a health food dessert. You've got fruit on your cake, so you can just overlook all of the calories that you thought might have been in there because they don't count now. There, a nice spring dessert, summer dessert, fall, winter, whatever season you might like to prepare it for. Those look really cute on the buffet table or for your special occasion. So you can whip these up in no time at all. Again, you can make them ahead of time because they do need to be refrigerated. So these are a quick and easy cheesecake that you can whip up for your next get-together. I hope you've enjoyed that recipe. We've still got the cheesecake in the oven, and we'll be back in just a minute to show you how to decorate that one. Okay, our cheesecake is done, and I've pulled it out of the oven. And as you can see, I've got some foil here. I have put a double thickness of heavy-duty foil, folded it in half, and put it underneath my cheesecake pan so that when I'm ready to lift it out of the water, I can use this to hold on to. It is very difficult to get this pan out of this boiling hot water if you don't have some means to hang on to your springform. So this is going to make a bit of a mess because there is, of course, water held in this foil. So I'm going to dump this water out, and then we're going to take this foil off the rim here so that you can kind of see what we're talking about. And this is still very, very hot because we just got it out of the oven, so be careful that you don't burn yourself. But you need to get this foil off just as soon as you take it out. And there will be some moisture down in here, so this will make a bit of a mess. Hopefully I've got the foil off of that good enough to, okay, that looks great. Now you can see from the top of the cheesecake that it's just lightly brown. There's a few cracks in it, but again, nobody's going to know those are there because you're going to cover up the top of that with whatever you like to put on top. We're going to make a caramel nut chocolate chip mixture to go on the top. Turtle cheesecake is my favorite, and this is what I like to cover up the top with. So we're going to mix that up here and show you what the finished product looks like. This is the turtle brownie cheesecake that I made yesterday, so that it was already cooled and ready to go. It's ready to be taken out of the springform pan. Now this has been in the refrigerator overnight, and before I refrigerated it, it was thoroughly cooled, but I ran a knife around the edge of the crust. So I'm going to do that again just to be sure that it's not sticking anywhere. So you don't want your cheesecake to break up whenever you release the springform on this pan. So this will hopefully keep it from having any spots that are still stuck on it. So when you release that springform, it's going to take the sides of the pan away. And there you have beautiful cheesecake. We're ready to make our topping, and in a small saucepan I have 12 caramels that I've unwrapped, and this is not an exact science, so 10 to 12 or 12 to 14, however many you think that you need. We're going to melt these on the stove with just a little bit of cream. And again, I don't exactly measure the cream. I'm just pouring some in. You don't want it to be super runny, but you don't want it to be so thick that it sticks your teeth together either. So we're going to melt these on the stove on low heat, and then I'm going to drizzle that over the top of our cheesecake and add our nuts and mini chocolate chips. The caramel will hold the nuts and chocolate chips in place, and it'll be super delicious. Okay, we've got our caramels melted, and I've added quite a little bit more cream, and this is about the consistency that I like it. You want it to be fairly liquid so that you can drizzle it on your cheesecake. And I'm not going to just pour it on there, but I'm going to use a spoon and just kind of just drizzle it back and forth. I don't want a big glob of it on any one area, and it's okay if it runs down the side. You could use ice cream topping if you don't want to go to the trouble of melting the caramels, but the caramels taste better, so up to you. Okay, it's our caramel topping, and I've got some miniature chocolate chips here. And again, we're just going to sprinkle those over the top. However few or however many you like. And lastly, a few pecans. I've chopped these up pretty fine. I'm just going to kind of press all that down into the caramel so that it stays in place. we go. Turtle brownie cheesecake. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Tammy's Kitchen. I hope you've enjoyed our cheesecake recipes and can use them at home. If we've made something today that you liked, you can email us at recipes@charitonvalley.com or check out our website at cvalley.net. From my kitchen to yours, enjoy.